Hey DMAC fam, Father Nathan here. Welcome to this week's Catechesis video. Catechesis is our process of growing in the gospel through instruction and conversation. And our topic over the past few weeks has been evangelism, sharing our faith with people around us. And we've been talking about that in terms of a framework that we learned from our friend Nick Davis called the Gospel Drop. So we began our conversation talking about the gospel proclaimed, so preaching in the gathering as a form of worship and evangelism. We talked about the gospel being confirmed in the sacraments and how that can contribute to evangelism. Then we talked about the gospel shared in our community and how that can be part of evangelism too. And finally, this week, we're talking about the gospel carried into our vocations and how that can serve as a catalyst for sharing our faith with the people that we come in contact with in our everyday lives. So our passage for this is 1 Peter chapter 3, beginning in verse 13. I want to read this to you now. Now, who is there to harm you if you are zealous for what is good? But even if you should suffer for righteousness' sake, you will be blessed. Have no fear of them, nor be troubled, but in your hearts honor Christ the Lord as holy, always being prepared to make a defense to anyone who asks you for any reason for the hope that is in you. Yet do it with gentleness and respect, having a good conscience, so that when you are slandered, those who revile your good behavior in Christ may be put to shame. For it is better to suffer for doing good, if that should be God's will, than for doing evil. So as you are in your vocation, right, doing what God has called you to do in the world, that's what vocation means. As you are doing what God has called you to do in the world, whether that's at work or at home, out and about, being with your neighbors, helping people out, whatever it is, I have 3 questions that I want you to think about. First of all, how can you live in such a hopeful way that you invite questions? How do we do this as a community, as individuals? What does that look like for us? Second, what does it look or sound like to answer questions with gentleness and respect? Sometimes I think we kind of automatically think that we know what that's like, but it might be helpful to think about that ahead of time. How can we make sure when somebody asks us, well, why are you doing that? Or why did you say that? Or, why do you have this hope? How can we answer in a way that is going to be very gentle and respectful of other people? Third, has anybody ever asked you about your hope? Has anybody ever asked you, why are you a little bit weird as a Christian? And how did you respond? We'd love to hear about that. Share that with your group this week as we talk about carrying the gospel with us out into our vocations.